The Boys universe is known for humbling the superhero genre quite brutally with their scathing parodies of popular superhero characters. Both in the show and in the graphic novels, the superhero parody takes center stage and is an integral part of the storytelling. One such parody that hasn't been observed on the show so far is that of popular Marvel character Doctor Strange, and he goes by the name of Dr. Peculiar in the comic books. As you might imagine, the character is far from his glorious Marvelous counterpart, and in this video we will bring you everything there is to know about this degraded character from the Boys universe. Before we go into explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Who is Dr. Peculiar and what makes him a degrading representation of Doctor Strange? Dr. Stephen Strange in the Marvel Universe is an honorable superhero who mastered the mystic arts following a severe injury. His stories of valor and heroics are loved by fans all over the world. But that hasn't stopped the Boys version, Dr. Peculiar, from being nothing more than a scum of society. In this bizarre universe filled with twisted soups, Dr. Peculiar is basically a pimp who is the man to go to for any soup when they want their irregular and dangerous fantasies played out. He takes care of their wants and desires through his supply of sex workers, and he has also keeping detailed notes on almost every soup and their dirty secrets. When Billy Butcher gets wind of this pathetic character, he immediately knows that Dr. Peculiar can be utilized to suit his purposes. Over the course of his limited appearance in the comic books, we learn that Dr. Peculiar is a pimp and a drug dealer who trades in secret information of his fellow soups for his own advantage. Butcher and Huey pays him a visit after one of the sex workers they regularly work with is found dead, and the evidence points to a soup as the potential murderer. They head to Dr. Peculiar's place to find the details of the transaction concerning the particular sex worker, and this is when we see the disgusting soup briefly in the comic books. He doesn't seem to have the magical abilities like Doctor Strange, and there is a good chance that he fakes his superpowers in the first place to continue his business unchallenged. As Butcher explains, he supplies high-class Strange for soups willing to pay. There couldn't be a better nod to the actual character than Butcher's subtle slang term strange to signify a one-time sexual partner. Exploring Dr. Peculiar's story arc from the comic books. Dr. Peculiar finds mention in the Boys comic books in a rather strange manner. Pardon our pun, Huey reunites with Butcher for a particular mission, and we soon get to know the actual details. As the two head out, Butcher shows him a few pictures that leave Huey shocked because they show a person who has been brutally killed. Butcher tells Huey about how the body has been found a block away from where they're headed, and the basic science on the dead body suggests that it suffered a heavy beating before death. It then goes on to reveal how this location is near a place where a mysterious individual helps out soups with whatever kinks and addictions they're after. From partners to pills to porn, the person offers just about everything. And of course, this is none other than Dr. Peculiar. The usual suspect for the brutal murder is Jack from Jupiter, who has a fascination for transsexual people, and Butcher is after the case because the person worked with him previously. Also, he is not someone who would allow a soup to get away with just about anything. For this meeting with Dr. Peculiar, Huey and Butcher are also accompanied by the latter's dog Terror. As they enter the premises, Huey tells Butcher about his wish to be more involved in the operations from now on and not knowing everything at the last minute. Of course, Butcher completely disregards his opinion but plays along for the time being. They finally enter the house of Dr. Peculiar, and the place has a rather disturbing decor. The walls are filled with sexually suggestive images of men and women, and Dr. Peculiar also has a horde of AIDS monkeys. Butcher asks Huey to be wary of them. We also get the first look of Dr. Peculiar, and it can immediately be ascertained that the name is perfectly suitable. Dr. Peculiar has a thin frame and very strange attire. He wears peacock plumage as his headgear, and the lower part of his face is painted white. He is in a purple robe and a greenish cape, and his upper body is bare. Even his mannerisms and expressions are far from normal, and we hardly see him speak in the narrative. Meanwhile, the other side of the story takes you to a meeting of the Seven, where Jack is pleading with everyone, including Homelander, that he is not guilty of the murder. It seems like word has gotten out, and Jack is the usual suspect for the soups as well. Some of them, like A-Train and the Deep, don't believe his innocence, but he continues to suggest that he hasn't killed a person. Homelander simply asks them all to keep their calm and silence on this matter and hope that the investigation goes nowhere. Back at Dr. Peculiar's quarters, Butcher and Huey take a closer look at the premises. Butcher suggests that even though the soup pimp wouldn't want them probing into his life, he also knows that the cops would do precious little in losing a girl well is definitely not good for his business. Dr. Peculiar reluctantly lets them through, although we don't hear a single word from him, aside from his almost unnatural expressions. Terror growls at the monkeys to scare them away, and Butcher walks into a room that has all the documents and records of every soup perversion that Dr. Peculiar has entertained. Later, Dr. Peculiar even lets Butcher interrogate a few of his girls for further leads on the case, and all of a sudden the corrupt soup notices a few injuries in one of his girls, and he is clearly furious about how Jack has misused his privilege and damaged his prized product. The case continues, and without giving away major spoilers, all we can say is that the usual suspect is not the one guilty, and the case soon takes a strange turn as the boys continues their investigation. This is all we see of Dr. Peculiar, and nothing we have seen suggests any superpowers as such. It can be such that he has mystical abilities to some extent because he clearly dresses up like that, but the whole thing can also be a show put up to confuse and dupe everyone. What can be said with certainty is that Dr. Peculiar is a disgusting fellow, but a smart one who knows how to dominate soups way more powerful than him by storing secret information on him. The kind of business he is in makes this information extremely sensitive in nature, and it is also quite evident that he doesn't mind siding with the boys temporarily if it means getting his business back on track and punishing those who have violated his trust. Clearly, Dr. Peculiar is not a man Doctor Strange would be proud of being associated with. Is he going to appear in the ongoing series? The ongoing Season 4 of The Boys has teased the possibility of Dr. Peculiar appearing in the show at some point. It all started after Ashley Barrett proposes a list of names for Homelander to pick from in order to replace the likes of Starlight and Queen Maeve in the Seven. There are several known and unknown names on the list that she brings up, and fans are quick to recognize the likes of Tech Knight from the spin-off series Gen V. One name on the list that grabbed our attention immediately was that of Dr. Peculiar. It is a blink and you'll miss moment in the episode, but we cannot help wondering how the character would fit in quite nicely in the current scheme of things. A soup running a brothel for other soups to satiate their extreme urges and fantasies might be just the character that the boys need in order to retrieve crucial information about several soups. We've seen several new characters like Sister Sage, Firecracker, and Webweaver introduced in this season of The Boys, and we cannot rule out the announcement of another interesting soup in the form of Dr. Peculiar. With only the season finale remaining, the chance of Dr. Peculiar appearing in the final episode might be slim, but there is a fifth and final season awaiting on the sides, and this character might be the perfect fit for a cameo role there. Do let us know in the comments about your thoughts on this unique character, and also tell us if you'd want to see him in action in the ongoing series. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.